Do, 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 ba-do, ba-do, do. All right, welcome to Smeggies Cave.
Hey, how's it
Joined
going?
here by modern, uh, something or other,
Modern
modern
anti-federalists.
anti-federalists, right?
Yes, politics and stuff. Second political party.
Rock on. I'm guessing favor of state rights and whatnot.
Yeah, actually, exactly. The when the Constitution was ratified, it would have only gotten ratified if the anti-federalists signed on. This included, your Samuel Adams, your Patrick Henrys, your George Masons. They were like, all right, we'll sign this Constitution thing here, but only if we immediately take work and work to ratify a Bill of Rights. And so the Bill of Rights that we enjoy is because of the Anti-Federalist.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yes. So you can thank your Second Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, all that good stuff to those gents.
Oh man, awesome. So what's up, dude? How's it going?
Not too much. Just spent pretty much all afternoon at the VA. That was fun, but it's whatever.
Oh yeah, government-run programs. I'm sure that was super fast and efficient.
Actually, it wasn't bad. It just took a long time to get through because I was trying to do a lot of things. I actually got seen half an hour early with the doctors, so that was pretty cool. And it was kind of an initially meeting just to say everything that is wrong with me, which is a lot of service related issues from being infantry. You wear a plate carrier for all that time, and imagine that it destroys your body.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. How about you? What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. Just chilling. You're reminding me of a funny story, so I'm going to tell a story, and it's completely not gun related. So, whatever, deal with it. So I went in to get an eye exam because I needed contacts. I used to wear contacts for like a really super long time. I've been wearing glasses since I was a kid. I wore contacts all through like middle school, high school, college, and then after that. And then I was traveling a bunch, and I ran out of contacts, and so I just went back to my glasses from like high school. And I ended up like wearing those for like about a year just because like I never got to go see an eye doctor, partly procrastination and laziness. But anyway, so I go there and I had set it up where it's like I made an appointment. It was just at a what the hell was that thing? Like a eye place at the mall or whatever. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it'll work. They can just get my prescription. But anyways, I had made plan like I set that so that I could end up actually meeting my mom for lunch. And so I'm in there and this old dude was like in front of me. Like I got there a little early because I'm like, I don't know if I gotta do like all that paperwork and shit. And he's sitting there arguing with the person. He's like, I want my glasses to be the same on both sides, like the same thickness and everything. And I'm like, that's not how that works. And then they're trying to tell him, like, well, if your eyes are different on one side or the other, like it's not gonna work. And turns out, like, apparently he's like 95% blind in his left eye. So like he doesn't see out of it anyways. So that's why he's like, just make it the same. They're like, oh, yeah, we can do that. We do that all the time. But it took them a long time to get to that point. Like they didn't know that part, or they at first just thought it was like being weird. And then he's sitting there arguing, and then I guess he had just got a prescription from like another eye doctor like 2 weeks ago, and they're like, so why do you need an exam? Like you just got your prescription, like we can just get you glasses. And he's like, well, it wasn't the normal doctor, like the other person did it, and I don't trust them, and blah blah blah. So it's like, oh geez.
Hey, old people can be very, very crotchety and very set and firm in their ways.
Yeah. It was kind of funny that like he kind of reminded me of my dad, but like my dad's not that bad, but he can just be like particular or something. Like you go to a restaurant and he's like, well, no, I'm not sitting at that table, like it's next to the window or whatever. It's like, dude, that's the only one open. Like,
Yeah.
can we be a little bit flexible here? But no, we'll like wait longer for like the right table or something, like something like that, right? Like whatever. Anyways, so the dude goes back. You know, the first part they like where they like measure your eye and then they do a little glaucoma test and stuff. Like that's what the assistants do all the time. Like that's their job. That's what they're trained to do. He wanted the doctor. They only had one. Like this place only had like one doctor at a time. They wanted the doctor to do that part of the like exam because he didn't trust the assistant. And so they argued with him for a while on that. And she's like, I don't even know how to work the machine. Like that's what they know how to do. But anyway, so the doctor had to be in there with him, like while the assistant was doing it. She like sat behind the machine and, like, I don't know, like pretended to do it. I'm not sure what was going on. But basically they blew through like his whole appointment, like just doing the first part. And then they went in. So I'm sitting there still waiting. And my mom happened to like swing by, was like, oh, like I was just going to wait here till you got out. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten in yet. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, well, you know, Dad was in front of me here. And she just started laughing. And it was funny because like when they were in the back, I was laughing and joking around with the couple of people that like worked the front desk or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, he was a little particular. What's going on, Raph?
Oh, you know, let's see, what do we got? Oh, we got Raphael joining us over here. I wonder if we have anyone in the YouTube side. Oh, hey, there's new throne clay. All right, the dog's gonna have to go outside, or he's gonna be barking. Hold on. You know, we think that we train our dogs, but they train us.
Sometimes.
Oh, I just had to let the dog out. I should have left the door cracked because he knows he'll just walk in if you leave it pushed out enough.
Yeah, but that's how you get raccoons.
Yeah, that'd be. Unfortunately, have a mice problem right now. And they got smart. They will.
I leave my door cracked all the time, and now I have a mice problem. I'm not sure what's going on.
No, we keep the door normally closed, but no, the mice. We had them since I moved in this place a few months ago, and I got like 7 or 8 of them like real quick, but then like killed the dumb ones. And now there's just the smart ones, and they just blow by the traps and little bastards. I'll have to figure out a new and interesting way to take them out because they've outsmarted the traps.
A pellet gun and night vision sounds like fun.
Well, I do have night vision. I don't have a pellet gun.
Like I say, that's the easy part of the of that equation.
Yeah, it's like I actually have the hard part. Yeah,
dude, I got a sweet ass pellet gun. It's from Benjamin, and it's just like a break open, like, you know, single shot 22 caliber, and it's one, you know, you just like when you break it open, you just like pump once, and then it's like good to go. So it's not, you don't have to sit there and like pump it 10 times or whatever. But it has a built-in suppressor. So this thing, seriously, it just goes like just that loud, like just as if someone was talking. Like you could talk over it very easily.
Now with that, what size game can you take with that? I mean, obviously just varmints, but like, I mean, what's the biggest thing you could, you know, ethically take with it?
I'd have to look that back up again, but I would think because it shoots fast. That's why I'm gonna look up what the feet per second is. But I think it's almost it's like equivalent to like a 22 long rifle.
Okay.
I'm looking up what the feet per second on a 22 long rifle is, and then I'll go work my way backwards from there.
There you go. I mean, if it's equivalent to that, you know, there's you can take out quite a bit. I wouldn't feel bad taking out a raccoon with that.
Let's see. So like standard velocity 22 is 1070 feet per second. Now let's see if I can Find my gun. Benjamin, what the hell was that thing called? This. Let's see. This powerful gas piston can send pellets flying at a speed of up to 1,400 feet per second.
Hey, that's not bad.
So, I mean, obviously the pellet probably weighs less. You know, I'm not sure how many grains the pellet weighs compared to like an actual 22, but
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably still be fine with. I wouldn't go any bigger than a raccoon, but that sounds like you'd probably be fine for up to that. Wouldn't try to go after a coyote. But I do need to get some. I need to get into some air guns myself. Try to. I've got basically all the tactical guns I'll ever need, but it'd be nice to get some stuff that's an AR-15 is very practical, but at the same time it's not practical for everything, and like an air gun would be pretty nice to have.
all right, this is from actually the product description on Cabela's, where it says muzzle velocity is a 950 to 1,100 feet per second, depending on ammo. So, all right, so it's around like a 22 as far as speed goes, but because the pellet probably weighs a little bit less, it's a little bit. But yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't be able to take out a raccoon or a possum or any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, I hate possums. You ever have one of those try to come in your house? Those things are terrifying.
No, never had one try to get in the house. I had when I was a kid, I remember my dog cornered one in the backyard. And oh my God, dude, when they start like making sounds, like holy shit. The thing's screeching, my dog's barking and going nuts and
No, I mean the story I really reference is I was a kid. Growing up, we lived across the street from my aunt, and we were I think we had like dinner there or whatever. And so it was my mom, my brother, and I were. My mom's opening the door for us to go home, and my mom opens the door. There's this freaking possum just right there trying to come in. Slams the door right in its face, but not before it. I don't know who was more surprised to see each other, my mom or the possum. But it was a funny but terrifying experience. I mean, I was probably like 8. Mom, we can't cross the street. There's a possum.
So I got a picture on my Instagram from back in the day, but there was just a possum like chilling outside, and I took a picture of it and was like, something's wrong with my cat. I got a bunch of people that were like, oh, you should invite him inside and give him some milk, or you should like
No thanks. No, that's what you need the air gun for. Pop that little bastard. Oh, hey, I have a question for you. Since you do your videos on the the gun politics stuff coming up, have you seen? I don't even know if it's got an HR yet, but it's some Democrats in Congress entered a assault weapons ban bill. I can actually let me see if I can. How do I? Let me do the screen share. We'll get real fancy here, real high tech. Boom.
So I haven't seen the federal one yet, but I have seen some state level stuff. It doesn't surprise me that there would be a federal one. I can probably guess what it says, but
yeah, I mean, pretty much, the normal can ban everything.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You do have to kind of be careful with that, because I would have thought with the Ohio one that was like, oh, when a ban on assault weapons, where like, yeah, they're probably using the 1994 definition. Oh no, they're using the anything that's semi-auto definition.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? Like, well, I haven't looked at the whole thing myself yet. I literally just put it up on my tabs to take a look at later, but thought you might be interested. I found it on someone linked it to me on Scribd. It's 126 pages long, so we'll get to that one day. But
yeah, it's a little more substantial than the Ohio one, which was 3 pages.
Well, when you're banning everything, you can pretty much just do that in one sentence. If it's black, ban it. No black scary guns.
Well, yeah, that was their, they said ban assault weapons, and then a little bit later they're like, for the purpose of this bill, the definition of an assault weapon is any semi-auto that accepts a magazine that has 10 or more rounds, or has an internal magazine which accepts 10 or more rounds.
Yeah.
And that was it. So it's like, well, there goes almost every handgun. They didn't say rifle. They said any semi-auto that accepts magazines that can hold more, or is capable of accepting magazines that hold 10 or more bullets.
Yeah, no, I remember that conversation from the other night quite well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm trying to kind of pull up information to look at that one more, to look at this federal one. I know that in Florida, it looks like they passed some stuff, but not a assault weapons ban. So it doesn't look like any firearms got banned. I think they just raised the age to buy a gun to 21, and there's a few other things I have to look at. Which, I mean, raising the age to 21 is not the worst loss, but still, I mean, if an 18-year-old is old enough to go vote and fight for his or her country, I don't know why would we restrict their right to buy a firearm.
Well, this is an interesting headline from Washington Post. New assault weapons ban will prevent mass shootings, experts say. Oh, really? Mr. I can see the future.
Yeah, and apparently they're not looking at the 1994 weapons ban that did absolutely nothing.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Columbine happened in what, 96 or something? At least from my memory, I call it kind of like the first really big, school mass killing.
It was in 99. I just Googled it. It was on April 20.
99. I knew it was in the middle of the assault weapons ban, so it's and that's the first time. Okay, now granted, I was still I was in school when that happened.
Yeah, I was a freshman. And yeah, so I mean, these guys, they had, let's pull up Wikipedia here. So so first off, they shouldn't have been able to get these guns in the first place, but they got a Tech 9, they used the High Point 995. They had a Savage 67H pump shotgun. They had a Stevens double-barreled shotgun that they said was sawed off. And they had 99 explosives and 4 knives. So,
yeah. Well, and that's why in the 90, well, I guess it's not why because it was already written, but the 94 ban had a whole bunch of stuff about pistols that have a grip in front of the trigger and all, that. That's all because of the Mac 9 and or Mac 10 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean that's
Tech 9.
Yeah, I still think that's silly that you can't put a pistol grip on a pistol. But I mean, granted, depending on what type of pistol, it wouldn't necessarily be safe at all. You still need the barrel to extend past the grip. But I mean, it's an accessory that makes a weapon more stable to shoot. I mean, yes,
but that's what they were looking at. Were basically the they were trying to get rid of the semi-auto versions of the machine pistols, or even the submachine gun type of guns.
And I mean, as silly as they are, I'm still kicking myself for never getting a fully automatic Mac 10 10 years ago. They're like $8,000 now, and you used to be able to get them for 3500, and they're kind of basically like the entry level, machine gun if you want to get into class 3 stuff. And it's like, man, it was at that point in time, it was almost affordable.
Yeah, but that's probably just it's gone up now just because of scarcity, because as time goes on, there's going to be less in the market because you can't make anything new past 86.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess there's probably still the same in the market. I mean, the same amount, but there's more people who are interested in playing with that stuff. So,
well, if one of them breaks, that is now one that no longer exists. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
If any registered machine gun ever like completely breaks, then it just doesn't exist anymore. You can't make new ones. So eventually, whatever, 200 years from now, 1,000 years from now, whatever, like, they won't exist.
Yeah.
If the same law stays in place, Obviously, you can make new ones for what's it, like the dealer display and
yeah, post
like military and police and all that stuff. So like there will be new machine guns in the future, but not for civilian people to be able to buy.
Yeah, which sucks. I mean, there is definitely some machine guns I would love to own. I mean, just for to put on the shelf. Like, I would love to have my own M249 saw. That'd just be. I carried one for a while, and those things are a blast to shoot. No pun intended. Those things they're fun, and they're actually pretty easy to control.
So I pulled up that article that was like, oh yeah, experts say it'll stop the thing. And so they're saying, this is like the opening paragraph, the perpetrator of Wednesday's horrific school shooting in Parkland, blah, 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 purchased his military style assault weapon legally. So did the man who shot more than a bunch of people in Vegas. So did the man who gunned down people at the Pulse nightclub. Yeah. So did the man who gunned down 26 worshipers at the church in Texas. Now, the sentence that is not in this article, but I would add, so did the man who stopped the person in Texas.
Yeah, right.
Because that's like the exact same thing. It can be used for good or evil. I can't believe they still use the Texas church thing. It's like, what the hell?
Well, it doesn't make headlines to use all the times that AR-15s stop crimes. Or other, as they like to use the word, assault rifles, which is silly because you know what? Hey, I got an idea. I think we should ban assault rifles. The damn, our boys over fighting the Nazis. That STG-44, that thing is a big threat to them. So we should stop the Nazis from having their STG-44s. It's the only assault. That's the only actual weapon that has been called an assault rifle. It was the name Sturmgewehr. Yes, that's my bad sense of humor there, I guess.
Oh no, I'm just reading stuff. So this guy apparently he did his own study on mass killings, and he decided that his definition is going to be 6 or more people shot and killed, and he looked at it for basically for 50 years before 2016.
Okay.
And so you see the first part is between 84 and 94, there was 19 incidents and 155 deaths. Between 94 and 2004, there were 12 incidents and 89 deaths. And then from 04 to 14, there was 34 incidents with 302 deaths. So, I mean, 19 to 12 to 34, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like, yeah, I guess we have more now since 04, but we didn't have, like, having 19 before and then 12 during. I wouldn't call that a significant decrease. Like,
No.
7 less in 10 years. It's, so it's basically, it went from, let's say, like 2 a year to, 1.2 a year to 3.4 a year. Like, something probably did change. I don't think assault weapons have anything to do with it.
No, no, not at all. I mean, well, look at what happened not too long ago in France. Remember that newspaper, or was a magazine or something, that basically some Islamic terrorists, they used AK-47s, and they had RPGs. They had grenade launchers or rocket launchers, and you can't. Well, first off, guns are all but illegal in France, and then they damn sure don't allow RPGs.
Right.
So and that sort of weaponry that could easily find its way up from Mexico or even through Canada.
This is the dude who did the study, saying, we have found that when large capacity magazines are regulated, you get a dramatic drop in both the incidence of gun massacres and the fatality rate of gun massacres.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, okay, so let's just say you magically got rid of every single AR-15, AK-47 variant, even the Mini 14s, right? Well, so let's just say every semi-automatic gun has magically disappeared out of the equation. You could use just an old school lever action 357, and those things are that's quite a brutal round, especially coming out of a rifle. And you can, just as fast as you can just do that action of manipulating the lever, you have, many, many rounds available to you. So it's not even the weapon type, it's the person. Granted, I saw something. It was I think it was on MSNBC. They were trying to argue that they're like, a bullet coming out of an AR-15 travels at almost 3,000 feet per second or whatever, and a handgun is only about 1,000. I'm like, yeah, but getting shot with a handgun sucks just as much as getting shot with a rifle. And if, depending on the type of round you use, hollow points for both, you can either have a clean through and through, or you could have horrible damage caused. And there people are trying to act like 5.56 is just hitting someone with a nuclear bomb or something. And 5.56 is actually a pretty anemic round. Most people, let's be honest, they use that for varmint hunting, and most states don't even allow 5.56 .223 to be used on deer.
Yeah, I think I have to go over this article on hit or miss tonight.
What do they got there? Why don't you just screen share it, post on it up?
Well, I don't want to give a sneak peek. You have to tune in Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. But one of the things that is at least a little misleading, so they say, okay, so this dude, or the opinion shared among many researchers who study gun violence for a living. In 2016, New York Times asked 32 gun policy experts to rate the effectiveness of a variety of policies changes to prevent mass shooting. So the roster included experts from the violent prevention researchers like Harvard's David Hemingway, as well as more ideologically driven gun rights advocate like John Lott. So they make it sound like, okay, so researchers agreed that these regulations would be good, and they include some people like John Lott. It's like, I doubt, like, he was part, it says the study or the like the roster of experts that they asked included John Lott, but my guess is he probably rated all of them as, not effective or whatever, because they said on a scale of 1 to 10, not effective to highly effective. The panel gave an average score of 6.8 to both the assault weapons ban and a ban on high capacity magazines.
Yeah, hold on. The dog needs to come in. He's
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would like to see that information because I mean, you never know what someone can still say they are a gun person and want certain types of guns banned or think that some restrictions will work, FUDs.
Well, then this goes into, gun right groups like the NRA oppose such bans. This is the part, like the first half of the sentence I actually kind of like, and I wish this is what the NRA went with, but they point out that most owners of such weapons are law-abiding citizens, and that the millions of guns and magazines in circulation, I would then say, didn't kill anyone that day. They went with would make enforcement of such a ban a challenge. So they always go with that, like, well, there's a bunch of them, so if you ban them, what are you going to do? There's a bunch of them. And although I do kind of get that point, I think it would have been a better point to point out that, yeah, there are millions of ARs in this country right now.
Yeah.
And only one dude used one for bad, like that day.
Yeah, exactly.
Also note correctly, the overwhelming majority of gun homicides are committed with handguns, making the impact of assault weapons ban on an overall crime rate minimal. And then they say Feinstein says that the goal of the ban is to prevent horrific mass shootings, not stop, this is quoted, well, the whole part was quoted, but run-of-the-mill gun violence that kills dozens of Americans each day.
Right.
Really, Feinstein? So you're just like, dude, we're just trying to stop, the mass shootings, not the run-of-the-mill violence that kills dozens of Americans every day.
Right. And that woman's such a hypocrite. She went beyond just wanting to get her concealed carry when, I mean, the thing she suffered, yeah, that was horrible. What happened to her husband and that she had to go through. But it's, she was like, I'm not only going to have a concealed carry. I am going to be, become a marshal so that I can carry anywhere I want, but you can't have your guns. And another statistic that always ends up happening is with gun deaths, they include suicide rates. So yeah, if you shoot yourself, in the head, that you're going to probably be pretty effective in killing yourself. And I don't think we should lump in suicide with homicide. That would dramatically change the numbers.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's so. Let's say, so she's saying, okay, well, yeah, we don't care about, run-of-the-mill violence. Like, we just want to stop mass shootings. And although sad, we'll use the same numbers from before. So in the 10 years, and I'm using the worst one. So from 04 to 14, there were 302 deaths in a 10-year period. So we're talking about 30 people a year. Now, I don't normally go this route if I'm like arguing with an anti-gunner or even like someone in the middle, because it kind of just makes me sound like a monster. But seriously, you're going to take away millions of rifles from people and who knows, billions of magazines. I mean, who knows how many freaking 30-round magazines are out there.
Right.
Most people I know, they have one rifle and 50 mags or whatever, right? So if there's a million rifles, there's 50 million magazines out there. To save 30 people a year. And again, super tragic, super sad, and that's why I don't use this argument when talking to someone who uses emotion, because I realize at saying it out loud, I sound like a monster. Because I'm like, yeah, fuck 30 people, who cares? I'm not saying that. But at the same time, it's like, if we bubble wrap the whole world, we'd save one person from falling down and hurting their head. Is it worth the trillions of dollars to bubble wrap all the sidewalks in the world? You know what I mean? Like, that's...
I don't know. I think a world filled with bubble wrap might be a great place.
I don't know.
Very much enjoy.
But that is a hard argument to make.
No, I mean, yeah, the reality is... the reality is it's a great phrase from Benjamin Franklin: "Those who give up, freedom for security will have neither." And so if we get rid of, we ban the guns, we ban the magazines. Hey, they're still going to be out there. I think New York and Connecticut, they're only at 10 or 11% compliance for their registration and their ban, so it's not even effective.
Right. Yeah, I know a lot of people that will just be like, "Oh, what magazines? What are we talking about?" And only take them out when they're at their private range or something. And hey, don't tell nobody. Which in reality, if you end up, if pretty much if nothing bad ever happens, there's no reason for the cops ever to know you have them to begin with.
Oh yeah,
but at the same time, that's still then, if as you're driving somewhere, if you happen to have one in your car, like you just turned a trip to the grocery store into a trip to jail if you're going 5 over the speed limit.
Yeah. I have a story that when I found this out, I was livid for pretty much that entire day, and actually thinking about it still really makes me mad again. So one of the Marines in the unit I'm with now, he was traveling through Massachusetts with all of his military issued gear, and his vehicle broke down on the highway, or maybe it was the interstate, and he had to leave his car there. Well, so when he goes to get his car, he found that police had searched his vehicle, and they confiscated his plate carrier that was issued by the Marine Corps. They confiscated his 6 issued magazines, and hold on, let me get him. They confiscated his magazines, and so he had 6 magazines issued by the government. So they were USGI, metal mags, and they would not give him this property back, even though this is a Marine. So they took. This was government gear, and the only way to get it back was for his command to actually go recover the gear. So in essence, his gear was stolen by an overzealous police force. And when you have your plate carrier, you actually have a patch that identifies your name, your branch of service, and your unit, like sitting right there. So it's not like they couldn't see that and realize immediately that this was a Marine's equipment.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know, because there's supposed to be that whole freaking, Safe Passage Act or whatever. And that's just it, is that you're not supposed to stop or whatever, but sometimes you have to. Like, I'm sure he didn't want his car sitting on the side of the road till he could, get it towed or fix it or whatever.
Right. And safe passage, should there not be exceptions, especially for the military? And there probably
don't think there should be. I absolutely cringe when I see exceptions for military and police. No, they can live under the same rules I have to live under, and then we'll see if maybe not as much military, but at least for cops, especially when it includes like retired police officers and stuff. Like, anyways, if they excluded them, like if cops didn't have a special exemption, I wonder how many police unions would actually support these bans like they do now.
Right.
And that's the part that it's like I said, that's why I'm splitting it back off again for military, because that is the difference between military and civilian. But I can't stand when cops call people civilians. It's like, bro, you're a civilian too.
Oh yeah,
you are not special. You are not better than me, especially when you're not wearing the badge. When you're not wearing the badge, when you're not on duty, you are definitely no different than me. And so when they're allowed to do whatever the hell they want, even when they're off duty, even when they're retired, even when they're like, whatever, a deputy that works 1 day a year, like whatever, When they get special privileges and I don't, like that's no, you're the same as me. You're also a civilian. And that's what pet peeve of mine because there are a lot of like police unions that will support gun bans. But I remember there was one in California where they didn't include the police, and I think it was something for like background checks or something, or waiting periods or any of the thing. I forget which one it was. But the police were like up in arms, like, "Oh my God, this is a you're trampling on Second Amendment rights. Like this law is horrible." And then they're like, "Oh, we forgot a line, excluding police officers." Bam, instantly. This is the best law for officer safety. This is so great. And it's like, dude, just a day ago when you thought you personally were going to have to follow it, you were against it because it was against your Second Amendment rights. But now that you personally don't have to worry about it, you support it. That's just that's bullshit. Because like I said, they wanted to include, like retired police officers and stuff to like get around the assault weapon registration or something. It was one of those things. Well, I forget which one it was. Which is so funny. This is totally inaccurate. Oh no, we're not going to include you. Oh, this is the best bill ever. Oh no, there was a mistake. We forgot to give you your special privileges. Well, now that I have my special privileges, this is the best bill ever. So, but yeah, I'd rather just get rid of all of the crappy bills. Are you talking? I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I muted my mic when the dog was freaking out for a second. That's why. Yeah, I mean, I hope people don't, see things as, these comments as anti-police, but it's very important that police remember they are civilians. And that's actually the whole point, because we do not want a military police force. And I mean, I'm in the military, and I can tell you right now, I would freak out. In fact, I felt very bothered when I did some training in some civilian settings, because I was like, are we violating posse comitatus by doing this? Just by doing some training. I was playing a role player several years back for some students for our special forces unit. And I was literally standing out in the road in Georgia on a highway with an AK-47 and being a role player. We only had blanks, but now I'm not really familiar with
So
Georgia.
what you're saying is all of those false flag tinfoil hat conspiracies are true.
Oh, of course, yes.
And they are setting up the FEMA camps inside Walmart or whatever the hell people were freaking out about.
Well, if I have to be in a FEMA camp, Walmart would be a great place. I mean, be like, all right, well, I'm stuck in this FEMA camp, but at least I can go buy a PlayStation. And
well, no, remember there was like, I don't remember exactly, but it's like there were like 6 Walmarts some in the South that like were closed for construction or whatever, and people were pointing out like, oh, they all closed at the same time. Like they're getting ready to put us in FEMA camps, and they're building them under the basement or something. Anyways, and then there was some other thing that came out, which is kind of what you were talking about, where, yeah, the military trains in this country sometimes, and either it's because of the, whatever, the terrain or it's whatever it is, but they're like out in the woods, and so these people freaked out, like, oh my God, they're training to like lock us all up and stuff, and then it came out they've been doing this for the past whatever, 60 years or something. Like they've always done it. No one's cared in the past, but like. It was a couple of years ago. All of a sudden, now it matters.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely people freak out about that stuff, but I mean, I can see why, because I mean, imagine this. It's late at night. You're driving down a highway in Georgia, and you see a bunch of guys in black camouflage holding AK-47s, and they're just chilling at the side of the road. I mean, I could definitely see that, because that's literally what we were doing. And there was a very specific thing we were doing. It was supposed to be a checkpoint for a vehicle for these special forces guys to come through, and either we were supposed to stop the vehicle or let them pass. And it was kind of funny because I had a flashlight and I flash it through the front of the car, and I see like this van is just filled with a bunch of guys, laying in the back holding their M4s and their saws and whatnot. And then, but I mean, if you were just a random guy driving down the road and you see this, I mean, with that, I could absolutely see that freaking someone out. And I don't think that's necessarily the best application when that exact same scenario could have been played off on a base.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. It's not knowing necessarily all the details and stuff. Maybe there's a reason why they wanted to do it there versus not. But my only point is that doesn't mean they're training to frickin' take over this country or something. That was my only point. And that's the tinfoil hat people were like, well, they're on our streets or in our towns, therefore they're practicing to kill us or something. It's like, no, I don't think the military's turning on us anytime soon.
No. Well, first off, it is when people think about, like the United States going into martial law and gun confiscations happening nationwide, there's only 1.5 million people active duty at one time. I'm not sure the amount of people in reserves, but let's say you have another 500,000. So you've only got a military force of 2 million people strong, and only less than 2% of the entire armed forces. So less than 2% of the Army, less than 2% of the Marine Corps is combat arms, infantry. So you just simply do not have the numbers of people who would be trained and capable of doing that. And let's say 100%. So you have 2 million people that are going to be boots on the ground, actually going door to door, which would once again be logistically impossible. And then let's include all the police, every single police officer for this, it would still be logistically impossible to disarm 320 million Americans. That's not how it would work. If you look at how we would actually do gun bans and gun confiscations, you would have, so all guns have been banned, or all semi-automatic guns. You're going to have turn-ins, which are not going to be successful, as we've seen in other countries, and we've seen that try to happen in this country. And it's not going to happen. You'll see, I mean, people are still finding Grandpappy's machine gun that he brought back from World War II, in houses as they die. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Well, I'll give them this. They're playing the long game. And you're right. The turn-ins would not go that well, but then it is going to be that when Grandpappy dies type of thing. And anytime, for whatever, you get a call to your house because you're having a loud party, and they happen to be like, oh, by the way, open up your gun safe. Oh, look at all this stuff here. Like, bam. Now you're busted. You're in trouble.
Yeah. And
or you're taking them to the range because you have a private range you go to or something, like, oh, I can take these here, no one will see it, and you're going 5 over. Yep, well, they got you now. So they'll catch people one at a time after the initial thing.
And this is also, you're right, it's playing the long game. This has been going on for a century. There was, this time 100 years ago, you could go on a Sears catalog, order a Thompson, submachine gun, and have it show up right to your house. And ever since the 1930s, they have been progressively taking away, rights with, first they were like, oh, well, we're going to, invent our, you have to get a tax stamp to have the machine guns. And then in 86, under Reagan, a Republican, the quintessential Republican, mind you, we saw the Hughes Amendment go through, and that's what made it to where no machine guns could be made after 1986 to go to civilians. And then we saw, with that, the short barrel shotguns, rifles, suppressors, and all the cool stuff that us lowly normals are not allowed to have.
Well, I mean, no, that's still the same rules from the 34. The only thing in 86 is you can't make new machine guns.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But I mean, yes, that's a good clarification.
Just
and
you know,
it's been a slow creep. And so it doesn't, if it takes them another 100 years to get our semi-automatic weapons, they're okay with that. And I think that if they keep, every shooting, they just keep bringing the stuff over and over and over again, eventually the gun community will flinch and we'll lose more. I mean, and that's why, as we talked about before, those bump stocks are so important, because it wasn't just the bump stocks, it's rate increasing devices. And we saw how that slippery slope went into, even just polishing your trigger.
Right. Exactly. No, that's you got to be ever vigilant for sure. Well, and even the fact that I'll tell you this, at least Trump's showing his true colors, and, hate to be all I told you so-y and all that, but he's not really a gun dude. He's going to do whatever he thinks people want him to do, which I don't get, because like he's extending an olive branch over to Democrats going like, let's get rid of bump stocks. Let's raise the age to 21. Like they're all of a sudden going to like him.
No, it's not going to work out well for him. I mean, I don't think, I think it's the world he came from, where he was used to, being able in the business world to be able to make compromises with people, and then people liked him. He's not going to extend his base that way. And if anything, he's, the harder he pushes on gun control, the more Republicans he would lose. And, just everything else he's done that's actually been pretty good. That alone, so many people vote on guns alone, and he could lose in 2020 if he doesn't play his cards right.
Oh. Well, I predicted he would when he first won. I predicted he would lose in 2020, because I said he's not going to build a wall. He's not going to lock up Hillary. He's not going to get rid of Obamacare. So all the people he got fired up saying that kind of stuff, he's not going to do any of it. And they're not going to vote for him a second time. Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm certainly not a huge fan of him, to be honest. I didn't vote for him, but
it was funny because I actually ended up doing work for him. I made national news for a day or two, which was kind of funny, because all I actually did was some spreadsheet data to help get out the vote, and literally it was like, here, find the delegates using the spreadsheet data and tell them where they're supposed to go. But that turned into people said we were doing money laundering for Donald Trump, and that was like, it was like,
you speak fluent Russian?
Yes, I speak fluent Russian. I'm actually part of the KGB.
Comrade.
Yeah. No, it was ridiculous that I'm just some random guy that literally just sat on a computer like all weekend. I mean, I literally probably put in 30, 40 hours of work over a 3-day period. It was nuts, but it was for a grand sum total of my organization being paid $34,000. They tried to lump this in, and this was work under Paul Manafort when we started, that they tried to say, this $34,000 was money laundering in the great state of New Hampshire. It's like, really? Like, when people launder money, they do it for millions of dollars. But anyways, that's not the important part. Like, it was funny. The way I ended up doing this was I actually supported Rand Paul. I really liked him. I also liked Ted Cruz as well. But when my brother calls me, he's like, hey, do you think we should do work for Trump? I'm like, man, yeah, this guy's gonna win, so we should. And it was, and I was proven right. But because if you do work for the winner, it can sometimes result in more positive political work for you later. I'm not politically active now, but it was I definitely called it, and he actually has done some very good things. But especially for the military, like when he's like, hey, we're gonna do a DOD, or we're gonna audit the DOD. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea, because when I was an E3, a very low ranking person in the Marine Corps, I was amazed at how much waste I saw. And so that's a good thing. I thought General Mattis being appointed Secretary of Defense was a great thing. We got a raise. I'll never complain with more money coming into my paycheck. You know, and it's been pretty that he's been very supportive of our current commandant, and so we're getting all new weapon systems. So there's a lot and a lot of new gear. So a lot of good things are happening, at least in the military aspect. And, you know, especially with, you know, President Trump came in and he was like, all right, Mattis, go to town on ISIS. And we've really, a lot of good work has really been done there. And he's still telling the generals like, hey, we're in Syria to get work done and get out. So he's a mixed bag, definitely, but I won't count him all out. But for the gun rights issue alone, very, very wary of him.
Right. Yeah, because that's how that whole conversation started. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I said before was like he says what the people in the room want him to hear. Like he was, I guess, something like the NRA like endorsed him like earlier than they've ever endorsed a candidate before or something. Like I remember when, you know, when they were doing their victory lap last year at the NRA convention, and they're basically like, see, the NRA got him elected. He's awesome, and he gave us Gorsuch, so that's cool. Like, and I agree. That was a great Supreme Court seat. I mean, that's important, and there might be a couple more coming up, and those Supreme Court seats will be very important. But still, I was like, I don't necessarily trust him on guns. I mean, I guess his son, I think, is a gun guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Trump's a gun guy. I mean, he gives you lip service saying, oh yeah, you know, Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. But you can't be a gun guy and think it's a good idea to ban bump stocks or to raise the age to 21. How about you can't vote till you're 21 then too? I mean, is that allowed? I mean, what the hell? Either you're an adult and you have your rights or you don't. I think we should lower the handgun age to 18. Like, I think this is the perfect time to introduce a bill to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's it's very, very sad to see that the Hearing Protection Act pretty much got shelved because, you know, there's actually some European countries that they're more strict on, you know, gun control, but they are actually I think some places are even mandatory on having suppressors because, you know, it's not like the movies where it just goes pew. It doesn't.
Oh yeah, they certainly encourage suppressor use. And I don't know of any place where like it's the law you have to use a suppressor, but I have heard of, like, you know, let's say they actually have a gun club over there or whatever. It's required for that gun club because maybe there's a neighborhood nearby, or maybe they're like, it's considered being a polite neighbor to use a suppressor.
Well, I mean, we put mufflers on cars.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? I mean, that's like actually I remember over here in Detroit, there's on Belle Isle, they always had like a Grand Prix race. And, you know, they've been having it like forever, but just a few years ago or something, I remember hearing about it. There were like certain people like on, like, you know, in Detroit, like in the city, because the island's just out in the middle of the Detroit River. But the people call it on the mainland were complaining that like the race cars were too loud and stuff, because, you know, obviously the race cars, they don't put mufflers on those things because they just go to town.
Yeah.
But it was just like, you know, okay, that'd be the equivalent of if you had a shooting range on that same area, the neighbors would complain, hey dude, it's outside, it's too loud.
Right.
So why don't we put mufflers on them? I personally I'd love one for my hunting rifle. And here's the thing. I think if they were just over the counter things, we'd have just like what my pellet gun has, and it would just be built in. Because I don't necessarily want to take like the 30-06 I have now, thread the barrel, and then put another like 10-inch can on it or something. But if I could just go out and buy a new rifle that had one built in, because I do not wear hearing protection when I hunt. I've been hunting for, I don't know, however long I've been hunting. I've only ever shot 3 times. Like, I've gotten 3 deer in, God, how long has it been? Freaking 15 years? No, 20 years? I'm old as shit. But yeah, I've been hunting 20 years and I've shot 3 times. So wearing hearing protection for, you know, a week straight all day while I'm sitting out in the woods, because I might pull the trigger once every other year or once every 5 years.
Now, I will tell you, have you the Peltor Contacts, man? If you those things are amazing. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're hearing protection, and you can get like nice gel pads for them. I have some for military application, but you could they have more or less military-esque versions, but those things are great because they have a hearing amplification feature, right? So it basically gives you like super hearing, but if you start pulling the trigger, it actually cuts off and just acts as hearing protection because they're just earmuffs. So basically you have the hearing amplification. So it could actually be something that could help you, hear something. But I mean, I understand. Yeah. If you're going to be out for a week in the brush, you don't really feel like wearing earmuffs and having your head sweat and all that good stuff.
Well, I mean, it's cold, so I don't know if it'd be sweaty, but I feel like if I wore hearing protection all day, that like, my ears would hurt and I'd get a headache and stuff. Just because I've had that kind of happen before. Like when I go up north for Shoot-a-Palooza, I end up like pretty much shooting all day with my buddies, and by the end of the day, it's like my ears hurt, especially when I was wearing glasses because it pushes your ear against the glasses thing.
Yeah.
So, is it a mild inconvenience? Yes. But my whole point is just that I'd rather not have to, because in that way too, I can put my hood up and I can wear my knit hat and all this. Like, I keep my head warm other ways. If I had earring protection on, I don't know if like I could pull my sweatshirt hood up and it just whatever. I'm just being a whiny bitch right now. But anyways, I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't have to. I don't want to. But I'd much rather not have my ears ring every other year or so.
Yeah, and that's causing your hearing damage as well. Like I have a constant ringing. I'm a lefty, and so I have a constant ringing in this ear, and that's even trying to wear ear pro as much as possible. But I mean, sometimes it's not even feasible in the military to have hearing protection in. Like my first deployment, I was on a ship. I'd go to get lunch, and I'd walk back to my berthing where we live and sleep is what it's called, and I'd have to go through this deck, and there'd be guys shooting 50 cals and M240s, belt-fed machine guns out, and so they're going to town shooting the water, and your hearing is just going like that. So I'm a big proponent of you wearing hearing protection, but I'd also be a very big proponent of us deregulating suppressors so that we don't have to, because we can use subsonic ammo and have hearing safe ammunition or hearing safe weapons.
Well, and even if you don't use subsonic, you can still it still cuts it down. So again, I rationalize it as I'm only pulling the trigger once basically, and I'm outdoors, so it's not as bad and whatever. But anyways, I gotta go jump over to Hit or Miss because it's Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.
Very well.
So I'm going to shut this down for anyone watching. Join us over there.
I'll head on over.
I'll see how many. Once I jump in, I'll see how many people there. But I'll shoot you a link if you want to join.
Absolutely.
All right. Check your gun channel's private message thing on the bottom. You'll see my name pop up.
Yep, we'll do.
I don't know if you've used that yet.
I'll be right on over.